It's 7 o'clock in Gardner, Kansas. Call the meeting to order. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. All right, we've got a fairly light agenda this evening. No presentations, no public hearings, so we'll move right to public comments. At this time, members of the public are welcome to use this time to make comments about city matters or items on the agenda that are not part of a public hearing. If you wish to come forward, please limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. There is a clock to your left. No profanity, no personal attacks. That being said, come forward, state your name and address for the record. The podium is now open.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Pamela Harkins, 445 East Shawnee Street. The reason I'm here is because I thought that there had been a mention of putting sidewalks in down East Shawnee that joined up with the Dairy Queen sidewalk. Does anyone know if that got approved or not? Because I knew there had been mention of putting a sidewalk in, but I don't know if that ever got approved. If it has, if y'all look and see if it did get approved, does anyone know when it might be done? If it didn't get approved, what do I do to get a sidewalk? East Shawnee has now become the new Main Street. Since we have a stop sign to a stop sign, it's let's see how fast we can go from one stop sign to the next stop sign. I have an elderly neighbor. She's 84 years old. She gets out every day and walks. I'm afraid she's going to get hit. We have children that are now going to be going to school. During the summer, they walked it as fast as those cars are going and as much as the traffic has increased. I'm really worried that there's going to be someone hit. So I'm here to ask that if it didn't get approved, can we look into that, and what do I need to get a petition? What do I need to do?
Can you give your phone number to the city clerk there, and somebody will call you tomorrow?
Okay, I will do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Pam.
Thank you, Pam.
We can discuss.
Yep, we can discuss more on council updates.
Yep.
Anyone else like to come forward?
Can I just come to a meeting and not talk?
Well, I did. I wasn't sure.
I mean, you can, but what's the fun in that?
Might be a spectator. We give you.
Did you want to give just a really quick update on the weekend?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, the comic?
The Comic-Con. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess I could do that.
Just brief.
Just brief.
5 minutes or
Brief?
less.
Okay. Jennifer Smith, 648 South Oak Street. This weekend, Gardner, but it's New Century, Field House, hosted the first ever Fountain City Comic-Con. There were actually about 18 different states that were here, and I'll give you the update on that. I don't know the numbers for sure of how many visitors they had, but everyone was extremely excited about the location and how easy access on and off the highway, and then the restaurants, because I know several of them went to La Coretta and Austin's afterwards, and then, slipped out and got some McDonald's or whatever. So we were getting some traffic for that, and they are looking at it for next year as well. So when I get the number updates, I'll send that in. So.
Very good. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Okay. Anyone else like to come forward? All right. Move on to consent agenda. Is there a council member who would like to remove an item from the consent agenda? Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Shute, second Baldwin. We approve the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Consent agenda passes. Nothing on planning and zoning consent. No committee recommendations, no old business. We'll move on to new business. Consider accepting voluntary annexations with landowner consent. Mr. Prudy.
Good evening. This is a request to voluntarily annex, it's actually 3 tracts of land, southeast of the Grata property, approximately 460 acres that runs the length of Clare down to about 191st Street. The voluntary annexation agreements outline terms agreed upon by the city and property owners as condition for this consent annexation. The terms are consistent with the direction the governing body provided regarding the annexation of rural properties in the city's planning and growth area east of Interstate I-35. The city will contract for the design and construction of a wastewater lift station and force main to serve the property as part of the agreement. Staff recommends approval of the voluntary annexation agreements.
Thank you, Jim. Is there any public comment? Council, questions, comments?
Comments? I'll make a comment.
Sure, absolutely, go ahead.
This is huge for our community. It solidifies our eastern boundary. Given all the stuff that's been happening with the Kansas Supreme Court decision on annexation boundary agreements and understanding that now everything's kind of in a free-for-all competition now across boundaries with even annexation agreements that are enforced, it's very important that we do something like this to ensure the growth area for our community for the next 50 to 100 years. This is a huge step forward. I want to give my thanks to City Administrator Pruding for his diligent effort in getting this in. I know there was a competition on this, and I wanted to extend my heartfelt congratulations for getting this done. So thank you.
Here, thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Shoot, second Baldwin, that we accept voluntary consent annexation agreements from the property owners identified within and adopt ordinance number 2739, an ordinance annexing land to the city of Gardner, Kansas.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Shute,
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin,
Yes.
Councilmember Deaton,
Yes.
All right. Ordinance number 2739 passes. Okay, that is all on the agenda, so we'll move on to council updates. We'll start with Chief Belcher.
So I don't know if any of you have heard, I guess there's rumor going around about the KC Air Show 22 possibly being canceled. We just had a meeting on that, and right now it's a go. So I guess that rumor's been going around, but it's a go. I personally haven't heard it, but
I had not heard that either.
No,
I have.
neither did I.
You had?
so anyway, it's a go. So it's scheduled. So everything's looking good with it.
Great, good to hear.
Good to see you back, Chief.
Thank you.
City Clerk, Chair,
nothing for me tonight.
and its Director, Matt.
If you remember at the last meeting, you guys approved the Edgerton contract regarding Big Bull. That was significant enough change to the budget that we basically remodeled the sewer rates. And if you remember back during CIP in the spring, we were looking at more like 4.9% increases to basically build financial capacity for the future infrastructure investment we have. With this new addition of proceeds, it's probably been closer to 4.2%. So it's a nice decrease.
Yes. Great. Thank you.
Deputy Administrator,
Nothing tonight, thank you.
City Attorney.
Nothing from me.
Gons, utilities.
Just an update on the Prairie Trails West lift station. It was supposed to be completed in August. There's some components that are being delayed, but we have set up a temporary setup that we can use the lift station if needed on emergency. The clubhouse at Treadway, they don't have water yet. They're supposed to be getting water by mid-August. So by then I imagine they'll get their occupancy and they might be flushing toilets, I guess. But we're ready to take that waste and pump it. So we're ready.
So we have contingency, but we're still waiting.
Yes, sir.
Parks and Rec.
Yes, update on pickleball courts. Did receive some pricing from just one company. Asked to look at possibly restriping 2 existing tennis courts. They would anchor in bolts for the nets, so you could switch them in and out. That's estimated about $11,000. And I did also ask for pricing for 4 new, just brand new courts with fencing, nets, and all that, and it's around 175,000. And again, that was just from one company. And last thing, met with Variety KC last week, I believe. Did a Zoom call to discuss inclusive play. We're gonna put together an RFQ and send that out hopefully by the end of this week, early next week. And we'll put together a selection committee for those proposals when they come in. We'll score them and keep moving ahead.
Great. Good to hear. Okay. Dave.
Nothing for me tonight.
Kevin Headley.
We've previously discussed projects in and around Gardner Lake, the spillway, possible dredging, that kind of thing. Staff's been looking into some possibilities for alternate means of funding for those. One of them that we've discussed was setting up some kind of benefit district through the county, since it's primarily county land. Staff had some initial discussions with county and have not really gotten any interest from them in going down that road. So we'll keep looking for other possibilities, but that's kind of where we are with the county right now.
And we're looking at grants and all those other funding mechanisms.
Correct.
How have the discussions been with the Lake Association, Kellen? We've had some productive. I hadn't had a chance to speak with you about that, Mayor. But how have things been going with the Lake Association? Do they understand that we're looking for a partnership in that regard?
They do, yeah. But discussions with them have been good. It's just they've got about maybe half of the lake residents are within the association, so it's not a really cohesive unit, kind of like a regular HOA would be.
Yeah, I know that there was a lot of difficulty when the county wastewater project took place, and they had to try to get the support of the lake residents. It was like 2 years plus of effort. So just keep those communication lines open.
City Administrator.
So everybody knows we had an officer-involved shooting last week, and the process of doing the investigation takes time. But I wanted to commend Jay and the police department for how they handled the situation, both during and after the shooting. Jay made sure that everybody conducted themselves in the most professional manner possible as far as interagency communication. Fortunately, nobody was hurt. So everybody did their job and did it very well. So commend Jay for his work.
Absolutely. Could have ended up much worse.
Yes. All right, we'll move on to council. Let's start with our council president.
No, I like those updates. Sounds good.
Council Vice President.
Yeah, I think that I appreciate the update from Director Bruce on the inclusive play. I just want to keep hammering that, making sure it's on the front burner. I've received additional inquiries on that. I don't know if there's any possibility that we could start even some design work on at least one of the inclusive play areas before the end of the year to make sure that we are and get the folks who have been advocates and heavily involved in that. But I'm in agreement with them that that's something that we probably need to really try to accelerate if we can.
And that's our hope once we get these RFQs brought in, figure out who we're going to go with, and then we start looking at the design process, getting feedback from stakeholders, things like that. So I don't see an issue with that not happening this year.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you again for your effort.
Very good.
That's all I had.
Councilman Dean.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Roberts.
Yes, I saw that the pathway sidewalk trail got started this week along 175th Street. I know it was maybe delayed thought we were supposed to start last week sometime.
There was weather effects and also some coordination with the gas.
Yes. Okay. Do we have a completion date yet? Will it, I mean, because school's starting and.
Yeah, it should only be a week or two. I mean, it's not a significant haul.
Okay. Thank you. That was it?
Yeah, okay. I just, going back to Ms. Harkins, sidewalks, we'll follow up on that. Didn't we at some point have money set aside for that?
I don't think it was ever allocated
I
for
mean,
that location.
years ago. Trying to see who was around back then. I know we had, I thought we had some,
Yeah, it was
Not
a
in recent
long.
CIPs.
and it was, but we had the money set aside, but it seemed like the residents declined it. They.
That's exactly what it was. And it's because of the fact that the setbacks aren't that great in that neighborhood. If I remember correctly, and I've been down that road more than a few times, there are no sidewalks in that entire street, north or south side. And it's, you're right, it is a danger. When there's not a lot of traffic, it's fine walking on, but because of the Main Street construction, it's really gotten bad. And the speed limits are really, they're not well posted, but they're 25 through that neighborhood. And you would never know it going down that street. I mean, it is like a drag race, and someone's gonna get killed if we don't get something in there. Either some sort of traffic calming measures or a, or sidewalks started on that street.
Wasn't it part of that beautification though, that you all, cause I remember.
Oh, that's the
talking about
downtown. We
beautification.
didn't-
Wasn't that part
Yeah.
of putting sidewalks down East Shawnee?
I remember that conversation, and it was not part of the beautification area because east of Mulberry is not part of the downtown district.
Okay,
And so that's where the problem was on that, so we needed to get buy-in from the actual homeowners because their property lines go all the way into Shawnee Street. It's not something that we
well,
have
there's not
right
a lot
away.
of homeowners,
There's no right of way there.
there's not a lot of homeowners on that street. I'm one of the homeowners.
Yeah.
I know a few of them, and I'm gonna tell you, every one of us is going to say, do whatever you have to do to get these kids and the elderly off that street. Because we've had to sit out there many times and slow the cars down ourselves.
Yeah.
Even by standing in the street. I mean, it's getting bad. And
Yeah.
especially since Price Chopper, that's straight through, went through, boy, they don't have to deal with any of this. Our street is just straight shot, and it's fast as they can go from one corner to the other corner. But I know that the other side, I live on right behind the police department, so
Yeah.
whatever side this is. Ours property does go up kinda weird, but it looks like across the way, it looks straight. So I
Yeah.
think that, I mean, it'd be better to put sidewalks on that side, cause I don't think you'd have to do too much on that side of it. And I don't think there's a lot of homeowners on that side, maybe one or two. The rest are, I mean, they're rentals, but you'd have to go
Yeah.
to landlords, but they're all mostly rentals.
Oh,
on
yeah,
that
and
side.
several homeowners that were on that side that were giving us some of the biggest problems
Really?
are no longer there
Right.
because of Dairy Queen and other development. Is there a possibility we could look at safe routes to school?
I was gonna
Monies
say
for that?
safe routes to schools, possibly community development block grants.
Yeah.
There's funding
That's-
mechanisms we could use for it. It is an identified gap in our pedestrian.
Oh, it's a huge gap.
And it seems like it was those CDGB funds that we had set aside for.
That was many years ago, yeah.
Yes, and we got a lot of pushback from the residents there because they didn't want sidewalks they had to maintain. And so,
Mhm.
you know,
And the setbacks, there was an issue. If you put a sidewalk in there, you wouldn't have enough room for the car to clear the sidewalk in some of those neighborhoods, some of those homes, so.
Is there something we can do short term, like put the little, speed sign or one of those things or any?
No, so when Ms. Harkins was over here, giving her information to the city clerk, I told her that we could pay attention, get an officer in the area, put that on our list, but there's really not a lot of room to
Yeah.
put our radar trailer over there, because it is a small road, and you have cars that park on both sides. So that's really probably just gonna muddy up the waters a little bit, if you will, but we will get into the area a little bit more.
Great.
And try to slow some people down
Thank you,
and help
Chief.
out.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
thank you. And then lastly, I just want to remind everyone that even though it's 100 degrees out the next few days, Johnson County Fair is starting this week, so if you're ready to go out there and take it all in, there's some great great stuff to see out there, and I know they do a lot to put that on. So yeah, I'll be out there with the kids. That's all I had. With that, we do have an executive session this evening. Is there a motion to consider entering into executive session for the preliminary discussion of acquisition of real property?
Second.
Motion Deaton, second Baldwin. We recess into executive session for the preliminary discussion of the acquisition of real property pursuant to KSA 754319 B6 beginning at 20 minutes. Okay. 7:20. Returning to regular session at 7:40 p.m. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 40, call the meeting to order.
Oh, can't do that.
Motion to
Call the meeting to order.
turn to regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion to shoot, second Baldwin, return to regular session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstained. Back in regular session. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Baldwin, second Deaton, we adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?